What do you get when you take a former manager and report combo, who are now real life friends, one a management coach and sudden viral internet star who shoots from the hip, and the other a CX exec turned advisor who overthinks everything? This podcast. Welcome to the business of humans. I'm Joe, founder of CX Joe Advisory and the Overthinker. My partner in crime is Lynda. She's the founder of Leveled Up Leadership and the Internet Star. Join us as we talk about business, relationships, humanity, success, and also failure through the lens of friendship, heaps of radical transparency and honesty, and zero BS.
This episode is brought to you by Keen. If you've ever looked into companies like Deal or Remote because you wanted to hire internationally, you've probably realized something. They make it easier to employ people around the world, yes, but they don't actually help you build the team. That's why I like what Keen is doing. They combine the infrastructure of an employer of record with specialized global talent, helping companies build customer experience, creative marketing, and operations teams that feel like the true extension of your business. Now, let's jump into today's episode.
Let's get started with today's episode.
Hi, Joe.
Hello, Lynda. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually, I can't wait. We jump on these recordings and I have some things I want to hear about from you. We have an amazing guest today. And then also, I've had a really nice 24 hours leading up to this where it's one of those like my version of pinch me moments, Lynda.
I love that for you.
Yeah,
I love
thank
that.
you. Have you been
Do
having
you want to
any,
share?
any? Yeah, sure. How could you tell? Oh my God, I thought I was so
I
subtle.
know. I know.
All right, so here's the deal, Lynda. Here's the deal. Yesterday, I went into the big city. So, as some of our listeners know, I've always been a New York City area guy, I promise. But now I'm kind of tucked away in the boonies of New Jersey with my family. But I go into New York, sometimes maybe once or twice a month for work stuff. Yesterday, first had a couple of awesome lunch and coffee meetups with amazing kind of industry turn life friends, which is like, it's my specialty, it's my jam. I love language. Hi, friends. And then I was invited to this really, really cool, unique meetup. It was a founder who I've had the pleasure of meeting. She has this amazing high growth tech company. But in addition to that, she's also created or kind of adopted this really unique sort of, it's not networking. It's a non-networking. It's a more elevated version of networking, I would say. Not elevated like fancy, elevated like she's really put a lot of thought and intention and kind of looked into like historical gatherings and meeting structures. And what she did is gathered me and three other sort of connections, friends, folks she finds interesting in some way. We actually all came from really diverse backgrounds, like PC kind of stuff. One guy has a platform he does. Also, I don't think he'd mind being outed. This platform called Ugly Talks that I told him reminded me of our podcast and the intro to the podcast, where he has founders and execs come on stage at live events and talk about the hard stuff, like the ugly stuff from their career, and everybody bonds over it and makes great connect. And so he was there, a guy kind of in like space aviation. It was this really great group, but everyone was super warm and human and kind. And the meeting structure was such that we laid bare with all of these insights and kind of hot takes from our career and also problems and puzzles that we're trying to solve, mostly professionally, but I could kind of delve into personal as well. And everybody sat there and just like did their darndest to help each other, make recommendations, like solve each other's problems, so to speak. Also with a nice realistic kind of air of like, we'll do the best we can in an hour or two in this lovely space our host had us in. And now we've got the email chain going and we'll just kind of keep it going. And you just have like a few more friends on the journey helping each other out. It was super cool. And then my high school friend surprised me with a ticket to the next playoff game. And so then that happened. And then I woke up today. I was like, what a day. And today's going to be the best podcast ever. So that's included in my wild 24 hours. Pinch me.
I love all of this for you.
Thank you.
That's so great. That networking event or anti-networking event sounds really cool. I would be totally down for that because, the thing I think so often with networking, and, we did a whole episode on networking and I am crap at it.
Stop it.
No,
But go ahead.
I'm not crap. I'm just crap at it. But that's okay. I don't have to be good at everything, right? Um, but that kind of event where like the pretenses are dropped and it's less performative, which
Hmm.
is really interesting because I actually believe I'm very much in a performative space. But but I struggle with the networking because it feels so performative. So
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, and expectations were set ahead of time. It would be easy to kind of, joke about it, and we all did in the room a little bit of just like this air of mystery or aura around the event. But what the host was going for was that dynamic of like, hey, it's okay to actually share in here, to be yourself, to lay things out there. It's like put your phones away, turn them off. Nobody's recording, nobody's doing anything weird. We're just here to actually open up and get to know each other and help each other out. And then you find kind of common bonds and problems that people are trying to solve from all different walks and industries. So I love that kind of experience. And
Right.
yeah, so Lynda, what's kind of like top of mind for you? What's been going on in your world before we welcome our guest on?
It's always so interesting. I not to get too like woo on you, right?
Please
But
do.
but I often find it just so interesting how things come together and how events come together. And I have been on such an interesting journey with social media and my content. And I have grown some on LinkedIn. I'm still not the my prowess on LinkedIn is still not what I would have hoped it would. I would have thought that I would have grown more there than I had other places. And it still feels very much like a new frontier to me on LinkedIn. But I've also, and I've shared this in previous episodes, I often have drama on LinkedIn. I
Well, I
often
was
have
gonna
drama,
say
and
your engagement on your content on LinkedIn is definitely peak.
it's interesting to be sure. But I that's really the only place that I get drama on any of my platforms, and it's really interesting because I don't get. I mean, I've got over 3 platforms. I'm almost cresting like I'm getting close to almost 1.5 million. Like I over for followers, right? And for somebody who has spent their life working and being boring, that's really interesting to me that that's what it is, right?
It's amazing.
Um, but I don't get a lot of trolls. In fact, I've had other people comment that they love to go to my comments on TikTok or on Instagram, even on Facebook. They love to go to the comments because they feel revived. Like there's so much positivity in the comments that are on my platforms. And then we go to LinkedIn, and that's where I get just real interesting trolls and individuals where I'm like, bold move, Cotton. Like bold move to like go on and make troll comments on a platform that's supposed to be professional. So this morning I'm looking, I'm doing all my socials, I'm doing all the things. I got a really fun comment from somebody. Uh, I felt very called out in this comment.
Mm,
And I don't know if that was their intention, but I think that it was. So the comment, and it's on a post that's done okay. I mean, I have one post that's been like reposted 1,000 times, which is kind of a big deal on LinkedIn. But this
that is a
post
very
has
big
only been
deal.
reposted maybe 150 times. It's not a lot. And the person's like, this is verbatim this post. And they put a different post in the comment and they link it to this other person. And interestingly enough, I have had encounters with this particular person before on other social platforms.
Get out of here.
And the thing is let me just tell you, in content creation, I don't believe there's original thought. So we're all kind of recycling a lot of the ideas. We all kind of like benchmark from each other, just like it
Hmm.
is in business, right? Like, and I don't know that I believe in original thought anyway. But anyway, like we benchmark, we do the things. I have had this person benchmark a few times from me, right? I've had it happen a few times. Um, and so it was really interesting that I got called out in that. And so, of course, being the person that I am, I responded. And I was like, hey, check your dates. Her post was 4 months ago, and mine was 7 months ago. You're going to
Boom.
call somebody out. Like,
I
just
was gonna
saying.
say, I was gonna say, I'm gonna put myself out on a limb here because we didn't talk about this before the recording, but I would have been absolutely shocked if you were in the wrong there, Lynda, because you've had the opposite happen to you. And we've talked about this a lot. Like you said, it's okay to borrow each other's thoughts, but that if you get into really specific wording, cite the source, give a shout out to the right person. And you've had people sort of misuse or abuse or repost without attribution on your comments. I don't think that you would do that to others. So you posted like 3 months prior. You're telling
Yeah.
me, oh
Yeah.
goodness, check your
Yeah.
dates, get your facts straight before you start blasting someone, right?
Yeah. And I was just like, just check your dates. Just that's all. It's there. Mine says 7 months ago. Hers is 4 months ago.
Do the
Check yourself,
math.
man.
Did they write back yet?
Uh, no, no. I have a feeling they're probably in another part of the world, given the time that they posted the comment. So
Got you.
it's fine. But I just think it's so funny because that was my LinkedIn drama, which I don't often have drama
No,
in the socials. And then today, our guest is like a LinkedIn celebrity. So I was like, wow, look at how the universe kind of
that's
provides for these stories.
that definitely was a really successful tie into today's guest. Classic fail on my end. I was thinking in my head, like, well, that's great. You had a little drama. There's absolutely no connection of drama in today's guest because today's guest, as all of our listeners will find out, is the opposite of drama. She's a connector and brings everyone together with kindness and warmth. I was like, shoot, where's the tie in here? But you know, it's right over my head like usual, Lynda. That's what you're here for.
I'm like just bringing it back together. But I was super excited. I'm like, what are the odds that we have like a LinkedIn celebrity
Mhm.
on the pod today? And I had a LinkedIn story to tell. So without further ado, I think that it's probably time for us to introduce our guest. So super excited to have our friend Gina here.
Hello.
And hi,
Cue the
Gina.
wild
So
applause.
excited.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you both for having me. LinkedIn celebrity. Wow, I appreciate that, but thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Get used to it, Gina. Get used to it. You're in for a
Thank
lot
you.
of
Thank
compliments
you.
today.
Thank
No,
you.
we
Thank you. LinkedIn's so much fun. So I'm glad people are using it. It's an awesome social platform.
we agree. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but I want to give Gina a proper due, and for everybody listening or watching, give a proper intro here. Having a guest like Gina on our pod is it's just to me like what it's all about. I know that sounds really cliche and really corny for anyone listening, but you know, I think for me and Lynda, it's just such a joy because it's someone we worked with earlier in our career journey, and are just not surprised to see all the heights that she/you are up to, Gina. So here's your proper intro. Today's guest is Gina Alvino, a talent acquisition leader, LinkedIn content creator who we're tagging as a LinkedIn megastar, and relationship builder whose superpower is connecting people. With nearly a decade of experience across healthcare, wellness, CPG, food and beverage, and beauty, Gina has built a career helping top talent find opportunities where they can truly thrive. She began her career at Children's Specialized Hospital, which is so freaking awesome, wholesome, and inspiring, before joining Daily Harvest, where me and
Woohoo.
Linda had the pleasure of spending several years of shared journey and so many joys with Gina, where she quickly rose into leadership while helping scale the business and drive culture. Today, Gina leads the US talent acquisition team and helps drive global hiring strategies and employer branding initiatives across all e.l.f. beauty portfolio brands. That's right, one of the hottest brands out there. And we've got her on the pod, including e.l.f. Cosmetics, e.l.f. Skin, Road, and either Gina or Lynda, make sure I don't botch this last one because I'm the least cool person on the pod. Is it Naturium?
Naturium. Yeah.
See, I
Naturium.
knew it. I
It's
knew
okay.
it. Naturium.
It's all right.
Thank you. I'm learning a lot today.
Mhm.
Beyond her corporate role, Gina is a LinkedIn content creator and has built a community, drumroll folks, of over 110,000 followers on LinkedIn, where she shares career advice, behind the scenes insights into working at e.l.f., and content focused on helping people land jobs and grow their careers. Heck yeah. All the
Yeah.
things we're so passionate about on the pod. Lastly, but also very, very importantly, to get a whole picture of Gina also as a human being. When she's not working, you'll find her at the beach with her husband Scott doing Pilates with friends or hanging out with her German Shepherd puppy, Pepper. That's a mouthful, but a happy mouthful. Gina is driven by teamwork, collaboration, and building passionate relationships. And we're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy
Yes,
to be
welcome.
here. Thank you both. Thanks so much.
I will say, the thing that was left off of this intro that I don't know that people would know is that Gina also has an amazing singing voice.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, yeah, she does. I've heard her, and it's amazing.
See,
thank you, thank you, thank you. I that's a little yeah, I don't think my family would agree with you on that, but I appreciate you so much on that. I think Emer
Listen,
on our
I
team at
spend my
Daily
day
Harvest is
telling
more.
people. Oh, go ahead. I was like, I spend my day telling people they're wrong. I can tell your family they're wrong. Your voice
Please,
is
I would
lovely.
love that. I love that. Thank you.
well,
Thanks so
we were
much.
joking before we hit record too. I mean, Gina's already getting the full Linda and Joe podcast
It's
experience.
amazing.
I mean,
I love it.
beforehand, I was just getting my AirPods connected. Linda was just calling me out, just blasting me on the echo. I said, Gina, this is the typical experience, and now you're getting thrown your first curveball
I
of
love
the
it.
podcast.
I feel like I'm at home. This is good. I'm so happy to be here. It's
You
amazing.
Good. And you know what this relates to, and I know Linda, you have some awesome questions and topics, but just like where I wanted to start out following the intro from my end is I think what that anecdote or secret knowledge that Linda has on Gina just kind of speaks to is we had a really special shared career experience, all of us, several years at
Yeah.
Daily Harvest during just absolute, glory days at DH. And we were just reminiscing a bit that it was really hard charging work environment, kind of in the right ways, but also did have that really tight community feel. A lot of us worked together during COVID too, which kind of
Hmm.
opened up the doors, even
Hmm.
more into our homes and our families, and so many special experiences. And Gina, what I want to remind you of is when I came into Daily Harvest for my final interview round, you were one of the people who greeted me into the office. And I always remember so distinctly, for some reason, you offered to make me a smoothie and I was so happy. I mean, you had such an amazing presence already. And I'm kind of looking around this office going, shoot, maybe I'm going to work here as a VP. This is going to be so great. You
Yeah.
offered me the smoothie. And since I'm a very awkward person, it was like one of those immediate conundrums where I'm like, I'd love a smoothie and this person's so kind, but I'm about to meet with the founder, the CFO, these different people. And I just pictured like, spitting out smoothie on everybody. It's dropping on my notepad, whatever. So I had to refuse the smoothie. And then I got the job, had so many smoothies.
Hmm.
Um, and then, over the next few years, I mean, it really is just one of those really special experiences in career because we sort of, I think everybody in the company admired and loved you so much. And we were kind of watching you rise the ranks at Daily Harvest. And we had such a special group of talent and people at the company. And you were one of those people everyone's kind of just, reveling and working with and watching and going, yeah, this one's going to do big things. And so now when I
Thank you.
see what you're up to already, it's just so awesome. And it's the least surprising thing ever in the world.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. No, I think it's because like our team made me want to be better and I think we all wanted to win and like lift each other up. So I think it's like the environment that we had, the people that we had, we just had just such special people at Daily Harvest. And I tell myself every single day like I would not be here sitting in the role I'm at e.l.f. if I didn't have the Daily Harvest experience. So we'll talk more about it probably in a couple minutes, but when I started at Children's Specialized Hospital, I was a recruiter, and then at Daily Harvest, I like took a step back to a coordinator role because I really wanted to like get a full picture of what it was like to recruit an in-house
Mm-hmm,
job, etc.
mm-hmm.
And I think like taking a step back like totally helped me leap so much more forward. But I think it was because of all you guys. Like it was so fun to come to work every day, virtually or in person, even though my girl in Salt Lake. It was just an amazing place to be, and it just you wanted to be better because you wanted to win with the people we had on our team, which was just top notch.
Really well
We'll
said.
also throw in a small amount of trauma bonding. I mean, there is a small amount of trauma bonding that took
I think that
place.
comes with every job. That comes with every job, so it's
Oh, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know. But I do. I was while we were kind of doing the pre-show get together, right?
Mhm.
We were talking a little bit about a book that depresses me immensely, and yet everybody talks about it. And the book is called Outliers. And it depresses me immensely because half of the book just talks about how it is based on opportunity, right? Where you are, where you're born, the people around you, talks about the success of Microsoft, Apple, the New York City school districts, like in the 70s and 80s, like how the education was top notch in public schools in the 70s and 80s because of, interestingly enough, private schools in New York. And it forced like really good teachers to be in the public education. And I remember reading this book going, I'm just depressed because I wasn't born in January, so I can't be a sports star. I wasn't like born in the 70s and 80s in New York, or I didn't have access to Microsoft or the computers the same way that, Bill did, and all of these things. So, but I do wonder if in 20 years, because I've watched so many people from our round at Daily Harvest really rise the ranks and really go on to do better things. I wonder if there will be some kind of case study done about Daily Harvest and like the people that came from those ranks. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, we should make it happen. I think so. But I think it's because we learned how to treat team members and show up at work. I think it's like some of those like passionate relationships we built at Daily Harvest, I think take you farther in your career because it's all about relationships and how you treat each other at work, how you show up at work. And I think we learned how to do that so well because we were so excited to work with each other. I think those experiences and moments are what helped us like catapult to the next career. But I know I look on LinkedIn all the time and I see, someone on our ops teams like at Farmer's Dog. I just saw someone just got a job like a big VP role at Nanit. All these cool companies. I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of all of us. We're going to such cool places. Like it's unbelievable. So I think also just forever just being cheerleaders of that team was just something that I'll always be so happy to be on the sidelines for all the Daily Harvest peeps. But whenever there's a case study, sign me up. I'll be on that pod next.
Love that. Love that. Well, I think it's probably really a great time to kind of transition in and talk about. I want to talk about some hot topics today. I want to talk about the job market. I want to talk about the insider tips and tricks when it comes to getting on a recruiter's calendar, because the thing that we're hearing so much is, and I mean, listen, I live in the real world. I understand that. I mean, Meta just did a huge layoff. I was just talking to somebody at Upwork. Upwork did a 25% layoff of their people. Also, shots fired because the way they did it was really crappy. Um, so the thing is we're hearing constantly about the job market and the reports out there talking about how the job market is the worst that it's been in quite a while. Also, the fact that the landscape has changed. AI has changed the game for recruiting and for hiring, and even like, 10 years ago you would get maybe 20 applicants, where today you get hundreds of applicants. When I was hiring at my last role, I would post a role and I would get 1,000 applicants, and there's just no way to even give time and space to 1,000 applications. So I really kind of want to unpack a little bit, get the insider kind of tips and tricks. And of course, we wouldn't be us if we didn't spill some tea. So I want to know like all the scandalous things as well.
Okay.
So should we kind of get into it?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Amazing, amazing. So I led with the job market. Tell me, again, we're hearing all of this stuff. What is your take on the job market?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging job market right now. Like it's crazy, how many, people are out there looking for jobs. And you're speaking about resumes. I can even share us here at e.l.f. We have like an e.l.f. internship program this summer, and we posted all the roles in like early January, and as of April 27th, we received 65,407 resumes for
Oh
like
my
46
gosh.
internships. So lack of talents, definitely there's no lack of talent. I think it's just it is a hard market right now, and I think it's a really cool opportunity though to reframe the mindset that getting a job is really not that easy at any time. I think this, since it's so challenging right now, it's a cool time to like build new skills. So like while you're figuring out, what your dream job is, what are some of the skills on a job description that you don't have yet that you can go on like LinkedIn Learning or try and use AI to learn more about different skill and like build different skills during this time while you're, applying to those jobs. I think also it's a cool time to pivot as well, meaning that like me, for example, when I was a recruiter at Children's Specialized, I took a coordinator job to take a step back to launch forward. So I think it's like it might not be exactly what you're looking for your next job, but get creative, really take that moment and pause to say like, what do I want to do with my career? And if I don't know, try something new and really just also use your network. I think that's the biggest thing is like, try and have coffee chats with people, try and, reach out to previous employees workers that you've worked with in the past to like just start to network and see, what else is coming down the pipe for their company. But I think it's really just a mix of, you're not alone. You're not the only person that doesn't have a job. There's a ton of people that are struggling, which it is a really bad market right now. But like, use this as a learning moment for yourself to say, like, while I was applying to these roles, I learned about AI. I learned about project management skills, became an expert in Canva. Those things can help you get your dream job. And I'd also love to hear that as a recruiter, hearing like, oh, while I was doing my job search, I learned these 3 new skills, to help me with my next job. So I think it's really, trying to reframe your mindset that it's like, it's a tough market, but how can I use this opportunity to learn new skills while I don't have a job to launch me to my dream job?
I have to say, I find that a really valuable thought. I have to admit, I've always thought about job application periods when I'm chatting or trying to give advice to a friend. I always picture that their profile at the beginning of that chapter is going to remain constant. Like, I have to admit, like static during that period. And it's just a matter of applying to more and more places, making connections, which is something that I always, talk about, like you said. But this idea of actually, like, during that very chapter of your life and your career, as you're applying, your stock is actually rising. Your LinkedIn, your resume is sparkling more. You're adding more to it. It's like, that's brilliant. It's one of those simple epiphanies that I think people could really learn from. I want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Keen. One thing we talk about a lot on this podcast is that great customer experiences don't happen by accident. They happen because great people are behind them. But building those teams globally can feel overwhelming. Maybe you've looked at Deal, Remote, or another employer of record. Those platforms solve the legal side of hiring. Keen goes a step further. They help companies build dedicated customer experience, digital, creative, and operations teams while handling the global employment infrastructure behind the scenes. Whether you're making your first international hire or building a team of 100, Keen gives you the ability to scale without opening entities or managing the complexity yourself. I love the way they describe it. Hiring globally is easy. Building globally is hard. That's what Keen was built for. Learn more at keen2hire.com. And by the way, I know the founders, Jake and Martin. They're phenomenal people, and they'll be great consultants to your business and give you an awesome world-class experience. Check them out at keen2hire.com.
Yeah, totally.
And the thing I really liked was you kind of touched on the coffee chat piece. And, interestingly enough, I have a connection that I've made and has become a really good friend through TikTok, like you do.
Love it.
But she's an engineer by trade, and she built a kind of job delivery system to help people find jobs in a different way. Because the thing is you send off your resume and it goes into an abyss, really. And it's got AIs checking it. It's got all of the things. You've got 65,000, 704? Is that what you said?
As of April 27th. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. 65,000 people for less than 50 roles, right?
Yep.
And the thing is like, yes, your resume is going to get lost in something, but having the coffee chats, I think, is so crucial, and it doesn't even, and I was speaking with a client the other day, and she's like, well, do I talk to HR? Do I talk to the hiring manager? I'm like, no, just talk to somebody who's on the team, or talk to somebody who's adjacent to the team. And I think this is also this time, because again, I spend my entire day talking about like tough workplaces and navigating these places, and reach out to somebody who's not even on the who doesn't have any hiring influence at all, and find out if you like the culture. Like, reach out to them and have the conversation and say, hey, would you refer a friend or family member to work there? Right? Like, because so often I've worked places where I'm like, run away, don't work here. Right?
Yeah, true.
And so I really liked the coffee chat piece. Not only are you expanding your network, but you're learning about the culture, the company culture. And let's be really honest. If we're giving people the tips and tricks and we're spilling the tea on potential ways to get on somebody's calendar, a lot of companies offer bonuses for referrals, right?
Yeah.
Lots of them do it.
Yep.
And Gina, I mean, I've been and I'm sure, Joe, you can talk to this too. If I had an employee who came to me and said, hey, Lynda, I'm referring somebody in, I would at least always look at the resume. I
Always,
wouldn't
definitely.
guarantee
Yeah.
hiring,
Yeah.
but I would
Yes.
always like put the resume at the top of the stack.
Mm-hmm.
And if I felt like they were a good fit, they would always get an interview.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. For
you
sure.
know, I wouldn't do that because I mean, I was doing it because I was hiring. I wouldn't do it because I was getting paid. But the thing is that's a great way to kind of be a little opportunistic, right?
Totally. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. No, here at e.l.f., we always make sure that we're, at least looking at the resumes, absolutely, passing to the hiring managers and letting them vet the resume for any referral that comes through. And e.l.f. has an amazing referral bonus. Team members receive $2,000 if they refer team members. So we have a couple elves that have like sent a couple through. I'm like, you got a good thing going on here. You know what you're doing. But yeah, if they say 120 days, you get a referral bonus of $2,000. But yeah, even our CEO, he even says that we will make sure to pass your resume forward. We can't guarantee a hire or an interview, but we'll make sure the recruiting team will look at your resume, the hiring manager will look at your resume, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I think connections, coffee chats, so important. I also think I've also received a message on LinkedIn before, which we should definitely talk about LinkedIn messages for recruiters, what to do and what not to do. But something about like someone mentioned the referral bonus, like in the message being like, and assuming you'll get a referral bonus, like please send my resume in. I was like, that's funny. Like I don't get a referral bonus because I'm on the talent acquisition team, but I would definitely push it forward. So like getting creative with the messages, but also on the flip side, talking to teams, one to yes about the culture to see if the culture is great, but if you're having a hiring chat, like I had someone on the team that was like, I want to move into the sales team. And I was like, okay, well, go have a conversation with the sales team to make sure you want to. And they had a conversation. They're like, maybe I don't want to join the sales team. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. So, like,
Mm.
I think it's important to have conversations to, like, build your network. Networks are everything, connections are everything. But then also making sure you're using that time to see, like, do I really want to do this? Or am I just looking to either stay at a company or pivot somewhere else? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because, I'm thinking about, and for any listeners who are either in or might soon embark on a job hunt, and it's interesting because having coffee chat, let's say you really want to work at e.l.f., you're desperate to work at e.l.f., and having a coffee chat with anyone who works at e.l.f. is obviously a great idea. And interestingly, I would add on to that having coffee chats with anybody is kind of a good idea if you want to work at e.l.f.
Definitely.
Yesterday I had coffee/lunch chats with two friends in my network, two amazing brands, Terra Cafe and Pros. And, we just start chatting and we're comparing notes and want to help each other out. And just when you get out there, no matter what brand the person works at, they have their own network. People want to be helpful in the spaces we're all in. And so just by putting yourself out there is what I'm saying, and having coffee chats with any friendly person who
Yeah.
works anywhere, you're kind of increasing the odds that you could get that connection. But what I want to pivot this into a question, Gina, because something we do talk about on the podcast a lot is, networking. And I have a passion. I've been helped a lot by personal connections in my career, so many acts of grace and, just luck on my end. And then I've tried to pay it forward. And so, make really helpful connections for other people. So we talk about this on the pod. I think what's interesting, and if I had to admit, the closest I get to pessimistic or a little beaten up for friends who are in a job search is I start to feel like, that cliche of like, oh, nowadays, like a connection and in is the only way to get in. Like it's hopeless otherwise, is like how people start to feel. But I know that's not completely the case. And Lynda, I want to shout you out. You mentioned something that kind of sparked this question for me. So with credit to Lynda, but that's not the only way, right? That's not completely true. Like what are ways, could we get into any advice or tactics of like, short of a connection, how do people break through and jump onto your radar?
Yeah, totally. So I think specifically at e.l.f., we love to see a lot of people connecting with our e.l.f. Beauty posts on LinkedIn, commenting, engaging,
Mm.
reacting. There's like a couple names I've had, even two that we've hired that like we just see as like advocates of the brand and really excited about the brand and like staying in touch on like what we're doing and making sure that they're like staying up to date on, like I said, posts that are happening, cheering us on. And you just like I kept seeing those like repeat names. So I was like, maybe they're interested. Let's see if they applied to a role, and they did. So I think that's a big thing for a brand you're passionate about. Start to like engage, interact with their LinkedIn's, because that's recruiting. Like all of us recruiters are on there all day long, so we can see the names that pop up. I think another thing is what we saw a lot with our e.l.f. internships this past year are the portfolios and projects that people would post on LinkedIn. people would say like, this is like a brand campaign for e.l.f. that I designed through Canva, and this is my thoughts about it. So like that was a really cool way where we're like, oh, that's cool. Let me look at their resume, because their portfolio or their project they, created was really cool. And even our comms team was like sending us some that they saw, and we would have conversations. And
Wow.
I think we hired like 2 or 3 from that, which is awesome too.
Wow.
So it's like
Wow.
thinking differently and doing things different, I think, is what gets you to stand out for recruiting, especially in our world that like we recruit in. With those projects, I like to caveat is that we can tell which ones are totally made by AI. So if you just ask chat, like, make a campaign with e.l.f. and Starbucks, post, and then you post on LinkedIn, like, you could tell it's AI. But we like to see the people that pull it, use AI, because that's important, but then put into Canva, put your own spin on it, find our brand formatting and colors that we use. So I think just figuring out different ways to stand out on LinkedIn, because we are like on that all day long, can make your
Mm-hmm.
name pop out to us, for us to then go
Mm-hmm.
into our system, see if you applied, have a conversation, or we can have a coffee chat or a Zoom and say like, hey, it's not now, but not yet. Maybe we'll have a role in the future, in the fall, or we're waiting for new roles to drop. Like, we'll keep you on our radar. And we truly do. There's so many names that I have. I feel like being in the recruiting world for a while now, my brain is just like a Rolodex of candidates. Like Lynda, even just looking at you, I can think about a couple roles we hired for Daily Harvest that like we may have either like was our number 2 or we hired them. Like, they're all in there still. Yeah, I think it's just standing out on LinkedIn and like showing ways that you can, how you'd perform on the job, especially like brand and social. That's like a really easier way to show like what you can create from
Right.
a visual standpoint. So I think those are like the big things we've been seeing, which is great. And then also like with me now that I'm posting on LinkedIn and posting a lot of like our elves themselves videos, which is like day in the life at e.l.f., seeing the people that are constantly keeping up and like, commenting on those and engaging and interacting is another thing that we just look for. One thing to not do on LinkedIn
Tell
is,
us all those things.
I think
Linda's
it's
eyes just lit up.
I think it's, well, like, I think one thing is, I feel like you can have a couple brands that you're excited about, but I wouldn't recommend pushing out portfolio and brand campaigns for so many brands. It's like dating. You don't want to like, you want to date a lot of frogs before you find your prince, but you don't want to like do too much, because I see like there's a couple people on LinkedIn where they're just like pushing out brand campaigns from all different industries. It's like, are you just trying to like see what sticks, or are you excited about our brand? So like making sure you're, being specific on like the targeted brands that you want to post about. But another thing is like, please don't message me on LinkedIn saying like, hi, here's my resume. What job do you have for me? I would love to get you in the door, but I have 65,000 other ones knocking at the door where I need specifics on like what role, why, and what makes you stand out, versus like,
Mm-hmm.
can we have a coffee chat and talk about opportunities at e.l.f.?
Mm.
It's just, I wish there was more hours in the day. I wish I can hire everybody at e.l.f. Beauty and have this experience, but I just can't with what we have. So it's like, be specific with what you want, why you'd be a bold disruptor with us, meaning that like what makes you stand out, what's your superpowers, what's your strengths, and what really you want. What job do you want? And if not, tell me what like department you want. At least it's a step in the right direction.
Those are
Love it.
great insights.
Love it.
Yeah, a couple of quick comments and I'll kick it over to you,
Yeah.
Lynda. But one thing is, I'll probably sound really old saying this in a lot of things on this episode, but one thing that I liked about your feedback, I was like, you know what? That's a little bit old school in a satisfying way. Sometimes you do have to put yourself out there a little bit. Like, you have to do a little bit of work, hustle a little bit, get on people's radars. And, this is the old or slightly jokey part, but people talk about like, more recent generations kind of having that air of entitlement, or, just this whole question in career of like, do you expect to be rewarded before you put more out there, or vice versa? And of course, like in any good workplace, you want to be treated like gold and all of that, be treated fairly, but especially in such a crowded job market, I think you made a great point there of like, sometimes you have to put yourself out there. It's a small risk. It's like an investment in yourself. And I really love that point.
Yeah, we actually had a someone at e.l.f. I just won't say her name, but she's amazing. She's a star. She's full time now. She actually posted on TikTok her interview experience with us and how she was dropping off a resume at the New York office. And it was amazing. She did such an amazing job and then crushed the interview. She ended up getting an e.l.f. internship with us and like documented the entire process. And then now she's hired on full time. She's on our brand team. She's like an absolute star. But it was like a really cool way where it was before everyone was doing this on TikTok, but it was like, I'm going to the e.l.f. Beauty office in like 0.5. I'm 31, so I'm not like Gen Z, but she's in 0.5. She's like, I'm going to the e.l.f. Beauty office to drop off my resume. And like we followed her whole journey and she was actually like amazing, but that was before everyone was doing it. And we actually ended up hiring her because she was great for the job too. But just like thinking of different disruptive ways to like get your name and your, profile resume experience in front of us. Nothing's going to be handed to you. It goes back to the question about the
Yeah.
job market being hard. No one's going to hand you a job. So it's going to be hard no matter what if you're not going to do the extra effort to get there. So I think it's, finding ways to do things differently. That's also the mindset we do embody here at e.l.f., where we're bold disruptors with kind hearts, we like to say. So we're always trying to think outside the box. Like I tell my team, let's not look at what recruiters are doing and do it better. It's like what's never been done before. So I have a secret idea, which I'll share with you guys off the pot of what I want to do. But it's something that's like never been done before for recruiting, which is so exciting. So just like thinking differently and just like making yourself stand out.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think one of the other points that I would really like to kind of hone in on is the overwhelming like sense of entitlement, but it's also like specificity, right? So here's my resume. What do you have for me? It's like, I don't know. What do you want?
Exactly.
Right? You need to be specific. It's
yes.
Why would you give your career over to somebody and say,
Sure.
okay, well, what do you think?
Sure.
Where should I go? And it's like, no, get a little bit more specific. And I think to the people who are out job searching, again, in a tough market, when unemployment is what it is, so many people are like, I will just take anything, right? And I understand that desperation of like, listen, I've got to pay the bills. I've got to be able to do the things. So I will literally take anything. But on the flip side, the brand doesn't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, I'll just take anything you'll give me. And it's like, yeah, but okay, so then how are you a value add to the business, right? How are you going to help change the culture or change the market or do the things if you're just going to do anything? And so I do think the specificity I thought was very important for us to talk about.
Yeah, that it has to be assigned to a specific role. And I'm glad you brought that up. And Lynda, I wanted to sort of amplify Gina's point there too. Because I think having these like more tactical gems, is also really helpful for the audience. And as someone who myself, I've never been on the recruiting team, but I've either been a thorn in the recruiting team side because I'd always get so excited about my referrals and the process. Mm-hmm. Or now as an advisor, it's one of the joys. It's like I have a little more time now to really try to make these connections for people, but it has to be attached to a specific role. It kind of, you're asking somebody to sort of break the system otherwise. And I had my first like mature startup job after my first startup that was like the Wild West, was this place First Dibs. It was really great to me. And I have a friend to this day, this guy, Ricky, who is like a recruiting legend. He's now his own entrepreneur, but bless that man, because he had to be so patient with me. I didn't know how this stuff worked. And I'd go to him and write him a 4-page email about like my best friends in the world and all of their values. And like, let's find a role for this person. He's like, Joe, love you. They sound like a lovely person. What role is this going to be attached to? Mm-hmm. So Gina, it's got to be, whether it's the recruiting team, an adjacent team, or even if you have like advisor, fake job people in your life like me who want to help out, it's always got to be attached to a specific role. It's not going to go anywhere otherwise.
Totally. Absolutely. Because like I said, there's unfortunately not enough hours in the day. So for us to do that, even though it sounds so simple, like, well, what role, that can just help us just like save an extra second to either, oh, I trust Joe and his referral, we'll pass to the hiring manager, done, we move on to the next role. So I think being able to be specific on what you want can help us just get it to the right person and get you in the door hopefully faster.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's the most creative thing that somebody has done to get on your radar?
Yes. I'm like, do I want it?
Are you filtering, Gina? We don't filter on this podcast. Come on.
Well,
we want to hear the good one.
Yeah. So, someone showed up to a pop-up event at our company, and was like, I saw you were clicked that you were going on LinkedIn, and I wanted to come meet you in person. So that was definitely creative. I was like, okay, no problem, nice to meet you. But what else? No, I think the one I mentioned about TikTok definitely was a big one, which were tagging us and showing their experience and why e.l.f. But I think probably the showing up at the pop up was most creative. Other ones, probably like specific, the brand campaigns and tagging us. There was one that was just like incredible that someone did around, a potential collab with, I think it was like us and like McDonald's, which was really cool. So I think it's just being able to go that extra mile and do something differently is what like we love to see. But I think the showing up at the pop up was the biggest one. So I was like, okay, so you saw my LinkedIn that I was going, then to come in person, I was like, I love it. Honestly, that's great. I probably wouldn't have the courage to do that, but I appreciated it, and I had a conversation with the person. She was great. I don't think we ended up hiring her, but I appreciate the conversation. But I have her name, my Rolodex. If there's another role in the future, I'll definitely keep it on there. But that's probably the one. There's like, is Gina Alvino here? I'm like, me? Sure. Oh, hi. How are you? I was like, I was coming as a guest.
Yeah, excitement and terror are all striking you at once. You're like, should I admit that that's
Yeah,
me? What's about to happen?
I was like, why? What's going on? Like, oh no,
What?
I want a role. I saw a senior brand marketer. I was like, oh hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Let's
Hmm.
chat. So
Hmm.
that was probably the one.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
Were you with Daily Harvest when we got the cereal box? Somebody sent their resume. They built a cereal box
So
and sent
yes.
that
Mhm.
as their. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that. So I don't know if I was there for that, but I know that when we moved to our new office, I think the cereal box came with us, and that was like decoration in the office. So I remember that at Daily Harvest. Oh, there was one actually. Thank you for bringing that up. One at our current company, someone sent us a hula hoop to the New York office and was like jumping through hoops to get my resume in the door. I was like, that's super cute.
Okay, I
I
like
do
that.
not recommend, do not spend money on things. Just send us your resume. Don't spend money. But someone Amazon like a hula hoop to us, which was really funny. So I thought that was a good one.
Funny.
I
Yeah.
give props for that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. What what are some like red flags? Like when you're getting what are some things that like or pitfalls or red flags or something that people should avoid when they go into the interview funnel? I mean, there's got to be some red flags, some common red flags.
Yeah. I would say maybe like red flags or things like not to do is like we've had a couple candidates where we always try and be like as responsive as possible, but like we're human, we make mistakes. And there's been like a couple candidates where they've like emailed our CEO and saying like the recruiting team didn't answer us or something like that. And I think like some of those things where I understand you're frustrated and like we can be better, and we always try and like respond to all 65,000 resumes, but I think it's like, why do that? Like, would you do that to a friend? Like, do you, you know what I mean, where it's like, why, you know get someone in trouble just for them making an error? Like, I think on the recruiting side, like we truly are. That's why I think it's important to keep humans in the recruiting process and understand like we're not AI, like we are humans too, and we want to get back to everyone as quick as we can. But if we're not as fast as we can, like maybe don't tell our boss it, like don't get us in trouble. Like that's just like not fair, because we don't do it maliciously. At least I could speak on my team, where we're always trying to answer. But if we don't get back as fast as we can, like we always make sure that we close the loop at the end of a process, where like we're either rejecting all resumes or having a touch point at some point. But I think it's like why would I want to hire somebody when they just like acted a certain way? Like, is that a coworker I want to have one day? Is that good for our
Right?
culture? So I mean, I know that's like, I totally understand recruiters can be better and we should answer faster, and I always try to do it, but like I'm not perfect and my team's not perfect. We try our best, but it's like, why would we hire somebody that's like already thrown us under the bus if we're one team, one dream, and like building a culture? Is that the right person we want on the team? I don't know. So I think that's probably one. Um, what other red flags are you looking for interview process wise? Like, do you mean like as a candidate in the interview of what they can listen for and maybe say watch out for?
Yeah, I just think like there's sometimes, I'm very intuitive. I believe I'm very intuitive. And there are certain things that I'll listen for. I like to when I'm interviewing people, I really like to ask questions where there's a negative outcome. So I like to ask the question of like, tell me about a time you missed a deadline, or
Right.
tell me about a time that you had conflict at work, or tell me
Yep.
about a time you failed.
Yep.
I like to ask these questions because, first of all, I think it's important for us to understand that we all have flaws, right?
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
we all have flaws. We are all imperfect
Yep.
humans, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's really important to me for somebody to be able to admit that they had a flaw. And I'm not trying to get their goat, or I'm not trying to like make them feel badly. Ultimately, what I want to know is, how did they pick themselves up from this failure?
Totally.
Right? I have openly spoken about, I have been fired 3 times and I've been laid off twice, and I have had many, many failures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important to like, for me to say, okay, because I'm probably going to give you an impossible deadline, or I'm probably going to give you an impossible task, or something that feels impossible to you. And if you fail, I need to know that it's not going to be like a death spiral after that, or that you're never going to learn anything, or you're going to blame shift to other individuals. Kind of what are things that you listen for? Are there certain types of phrases that you're like, oh, this is probably not a pass go situation? I want our listeners to be able to go into an interview with confidence,
Yes.
but also understand that maybe they can like self-assess and say, are these things that I've said in the past, or these are things that are going to turn off a recruiter, or they're going to turn off a hiring manager?
Yeah, I think two things maybe for like an IC role, like an individual contributor or a manager role. I think for like an IC role, I wouldn't recommend, even if you maybe didn't have the best experience at your previous company, talking down about them or bashing them or talking negatively about, previous experiences. I would definitely try and stay positive, whether it's, don't lie in an interview, but you don't have to be brutally honest on how the experience was, and how you, but it's always like figuring out how people can take the learnings and spin it to a positive. I'm like, well, X, Y, and Z happened, but then I was able to learn these skills through it that took me to, my next spot. So I think it's really making sure that like whether the question might want to have a negative response, like how you're able to spin it into a positive, I think is one thing to like learn. And that comes with practice. That's not easy because sometimes hiring manager or interviewers ask harder questions. But I think being able to take the response and end in a positive is always what I'm trying to listen for. I always ask candidates, like what energizes and drains you about your current role. That way to hear about like what they love about their current role, but then also what's like maybe something that they don't love as much, whether it's like a role that needs to be a lot of admin work and they're like, oh, well, the admin work is the worst part of the role. And I was like, and that's, one thing I'm listening for, where it's like, well, we need that person that like likes to do the unsexy stuff too. So I think it's just like, whether it's like, the admin stuff, I know it's a lot, but I know it's a part of the gig, but, I balance that out with, working on creative projects and, doing other things. Like finding that positive spin at the end, I think is like one thing to learn when you're in interviews for an IC role. For a manager level role, I want to hear more about the we versus an I. So meaning that like, what did we do as a team? What did, how did you support your team? Like one question I love to also ask for like manager roles, like what's the accomplishment you're most proud of? And I love when managers say, oh, actually, my team is high performers and I actually was able to promote 2 people. And like speaking about the we versus the I think I also love to hear from managers, because like we want people that are going to support, grow, develop, their talent under them. So I think listening for that in manager level roles, where it's like, what's the accomplishment? What are you proud of? What are your strengths? It's lifting up my team as I lift up too. So I think those are the 2 things that I listen for. Is that if it's manager, it's like, well, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. Yes, you want to sell yourself on an interview, but it's good to have that cross-functional team camaraderie, experience you can talk about and show that you can bring to the team too, because we are in this together.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Do you have any questions that you can't stand it when people ask you? I have one.
Okay, you go first. I want to hear yours.
No, I asked you first.
Okay, fine. Ones that I can't stand. Probably. Oh goodness, now I'm drawing a blank. Well, I guess like some questions that just are obvious that you didn't do any research on our company. Like some little things like that, because whether you have all the skills for the role or not, make sure you're an expert at the brand, because we're looking for brand ambassadors here, no matter if you're in ops, supply chain, finance, recruiting, or on the brand team. Like, do your research. What's another question? I mean, like silly ones, like what's your favorite product? Like I'll answer that absolutely, and I'll tell you all my favorites, and I'll go through my entire skincare and makeup routine for you. But it's like, what's that going to do? The ones I love are like, what does success look like in this role? Like, what is the 30, 60, 90 day like plan? How is someone successful, at your company? The forward thinking questions is what the ones that I love. So I think the questions that like I know you put a little thought into it. I'm the type of recruiter that I don't need you to ask me 5 questions. If you have just like 1 to 2 solid ones, that's great. If you say to me, like, I had a list of questions and list them out, but you already answered all of them, like, that's okay for me. I'm not going to be the recruiter where it's like, they didn't ask me 1 question. That's ridiculous. It's like, maybe they're nervous. I just grilled you for 30 minutes. It's okay. It's not a big deal. So I think if you have just like 1 to 2 solid questions that you put a little thought into it, it's not just like a typical, like, what's your favorite part of working at X, Y, and Z? I'll talk about that all day, because I can talk about why I love working at e.l.f. for hours and hours. But I think it's, put a little thought into it and be a little bit of creative. If it's like, and just like, I just need like thoughtful questions. I want to be also put on my toes. Like, what was the question I got? I got one question at Daily Harvest. Oh, I think it was like, if you had to describe the culture in 3 words, what would it be? And I like love that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like passionate, like humble, and like hungry, or something like that. And I like the tough questions, because it makes me a better recruiter at the end of the day. But what was your question?
I'm glad I wasn't asked that question at Daily Harvest. Ugh.
What would you say? What would you say?
No.
Okay.
We're not. This is
let
not
it
the
let it be,
episode for
Gina.
that.
Okay. Okay.
So I and Joe, I want to get your take on this too, because I think between the 3 of us, we have probably interviewed thousands of people, right? Like, and I don't know a lot of people who can say that. I don't know a lot of people who can be like, I've interviewed 1,000 people, and I think easily between the 3 of us, it's probably tens of thousands. Like, it's a lot. And with that being said, the question that I cannot stand, and I can see it coming a mile away. They light up and they think they're so clever. So for listeners, you're not clever. This is not a clever question. It's the same one for you of like, what's your favorite product? What's your favorite part about working where you're working? I hate that question. It is not original. It doesn't spark. I literally, and for nobody here really knows, well, Joe knows, like, I'm really not good at multitasking in the sense of answering emails or answering Slacks during a one-on-one. Joe would always get like frustrated with me. He's like, Lynda, you wait. And I was like, I was in a one-on-one. I cannot be focused in a one-on-one and type a message. But man, when that would come on, I could literally pull up Slack and answer 10, because my answer was so automatic and it was so rehearsed and it had been asked so many times that I could literally just answer Slacks while I was responding to that question. And I was just, I hate that question. So be better, listeners. Have a better question.
Well, that's the one. I said the same thing. So it's like, just there's not much thoughtfulness in that, because everybody asks it. But I mean, but I'll talk about it, because I have a great response as for the e.l.f. one. And I light up and talk about it. I could talk about it all day long. But I that's definitely one where there's no thoughtfulness in that one. So I think just like, you don't have to be creative. We don't have to ask a question that's too crazy. But just like, think about, just be like, what answer would I be wanting from this question? Like, am I just asking this question to say like, check, I asked the recruiter a question, or like, do I really care about their answer? So I think, you can phrase the question differently versus like, what's your favorite part about working at X company? It's like, what sets this culture apart from a different beauty company, for example? Like, there's a different way you can ask the question and be like, oh, I think I like the way you phrased it. And like, you took an extra second, before you prepared for your interview, and you took an extra second. So I think it's like that thoughtfulness and, it goes back to being different. How do you stand out? Like you said, we do thousands of interviews. I average about like 8 a day. So 8 times 5,
Wow.
what is that? Like 40, 40, 45, 40.
Oh my
Math
gosh.
is hard. It's Friday. It's almost Memorial Day weekend. But I mean, yeah, so just to think, if I'm getting that question like 8 times a day, how can it be different? How can your question stand out that when I go and hang out with my dog Pepper and my husband Scott, oh, so-and-so asked me this question in the interview, like it was so cool. Like, how would you answer that? Like, that's our dinner
Yeah,
conversation.
you know,
So
I think it's great, like masterclass advice. One of the things I'm hearing from you is, sure, it's great to bond over the products and the industry, but the advanced way of doing that would be to show that in, you know, the work that you're presenting, the answers that you're giving. Of course, you want to know like what the person loves about working there, but again, you could maybe flash that or show your enthusiasm about that in the heart of the conversation. One
totally.
of the things I'm hearing that I think is worth for people to keep in mind is, don't assume that you have time for throwaway questions. Because, you know, as a long-winded person myself, it's like you might think that you're going on this great progression of like, I'll ask this, then my 2 real questions. You might not have time for the 2 real questions, or the recruiter might start to tune you out after the 1 or 2 throwaways. So just skip the throwaways is kind of part of what I'm hearing. Um, Gina, I was really excited to ask you a question. You mentioned like at a brand like e.l.f, you want everybody to be brand ambassadors. And
Yeah.
something I was really excited to ask you about today is, you know, and I'm not, this isn't just for fluff or to keep complimenting you, but one of the things you do an amazing job at is when you post, it seems to me like it's one part kind of your personal brand. And we had, by the way, another DH alum, Alexa, on season 1. She talked about personal branding, and
Love
it's another
her.
topic that we
Yeah.
love. And it's like, in part, yes, we do too. Everybody does. And so in part, it occurs to me you're really advancing your personal brands. It also seems, to my knowledge, you know, perfectly on point with advancing e.l.f.'s brand. How much intention goes into that? You know, do you think of it when you go to post that, like, is there training? Is this like, I'm an ambassador of e.l.f.? Do you embrace the side of advancing your personal brand as well?
Yeah, that's something I'm truly figuring out every day because, I'm trying to see what works on LinkedIn with like personal advice and, working at e.l.f. I think right now, a lot of people definitely use my page for getting into the door at e.l.f., which is totally fine. That's why I'm here. So I think it's really just figuring out what sticks and what doesn't stick on LinkedIn, truthfully. And yeah, I make sure that like every post that I post out there is intentional for the company as well as my personal brand. I really do view LinkedIn as a digital resume. There's all employers that are all on there. Whether it's for future opportunities for me personally, or for also my network that needs help getting new jobs. So I think that I'm just trying to see typically like what's working on LinkedIn, what the community wants, um, and really just continuing to show, yeah, I do what I do for my community, but then also show a brand, like future brands that I'll work with one day, like what I can do for their brand too. So that's kind of what I balance for myself, is like helping people in their next chapters of like what works at e.l.f. and like what learnings you can take in a next job. And then also what it's like to work here too, and what a good culture could look like. Because if they can't get their foot in the door, I hope someone can find a culture that's just as great as e.l.f., because you want to spend your time in a great place. So I'm learning in real time how to do both. But I truly view LinkedIn as a digital resume. I think that, Lynda, how you kicked off this call, like someone commenting something on your LinkedIn, it's like there's so many brands that can see that. Like I know that I love how LinkedIn's changing into social media. Like I've dropped a couple memes on there and they worked and they've hit for likes and impressions, but that's whatever you post online, whether it's on LinkedIn or social media. Brands see that, so it's just like be intentional. And there's one thing that someone said to me, like, would you want what you posted on like the front page of like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or something like that? So I'm proud of everything that I put out. So I think, to answer your question, Joe, bringing it back,
Yeah.
it's yeah, figuring out how to do both. And I think that's why my page has been pretty successful, is because it's balancing. The half the community wants to know how to get that next job, the other half wants to work at e.l.f. So figuring out that and being able to show myself and being me, because I really do feel like I was on an interview, well, a while ago, obviously, before e.l.f. They're like, do you always show up like this, or is this just like interview Gina? I'm like, this is what you get. I think both of you can attest that this is me.
Yes.
I show up like this in work every single day, and on LinkedIn and on pods and on interviews. So it's like, be yourself, because you're going to want a company that wants all of you and who you are. You shouldn't change for that. So I want to show like who I am professionally, personally, a mix of both on LinkedIn, and show another brand in the future, like what I can maybe do for them in the future. I don't want to leave e.l.f. anytime soon.
Perfect. No, super well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Well, I mean, I think we've dropped a lot of gems in this. I think that there is some prescriptive advice, there's some anecdotal advice, there's a lot of my saltiness in this particular episode, which, I mean, I'm showing up as me. But I think we have reached the end of the episode. So before we close out, I have a question, one final question that I like to ask, and it's time to share, right? What's aside from all of the things we talked about, anything that's got you kind of hot under the collar? Anything that's like on your radar, something you want the people to know, and it can be about jobs, it can be about life, it can be about German Shepherds. Like, what do you want the people to know that like gets you kind of hot under the collar?
I'll go professionally. Well, I'll go professionally, then personally. I'll do professionally. I would say, you know, just find ways to be yourself, but disruptive in this crazy market, meaning that, like, you know, see what works for you, see what you want to do in your next job, what can you add to a company, and really figure out like what your strengths are and run with that, because you'll be happier and you'll be more successful in a company when you're able to show off your strengths and show off how you can really add value to a company. So like for me, for example, the LinkedIn videos that I've been posting, like I love the employer branding parts of my job, but that's something I did on my own and I ran with that, and now the company loves it. So it's like, figure out what your strengths are and show a company like, hey, this is the value add I have for your company. Like, this is why you need me for your role and why I'd be great for X, Y, and Z role. So I would say, like, don't get frustrated. The job market's not amazing, but you are amazing. You're not alone. There is a job for you. It might not be now, but it's just not yet. You will find a job and there is a place for you. Just figure out, what your strengths are and maybe where your weaknesses are too, and use this time to find ways to learn about them online. So that's maybe one. Another one, someone mentioned, I was at a conference the other day with AI. I feel like some people are nervous about AI. Some people are excited about AI. Someone gave good advice that when social media started, there was these social media roles and everyone was like, what are all these? What is social media? And now there's all these jobs. So it's like, be open to AI. We're all using it at home. You try to figure out ways you can use it professionally. I use it every night for like a different salmon recipe of like what marinade I should put on my salmon. So like, don't be afraid of it. It's just like, you just have to figure out how it works for you and your role. And then probably personally, the last thing, if we're going to talk about German Shepherds and Pepper, German Shepherds are the best family dogs ever. Do not be afraid of them. They are cuddly. They are the most loving, intelligent, kind dogs on earth. So, if your family's looking for a new dog, German Shepherds are where it's at.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, so
what's got
we
you
got
hot under the collar?
German Shepherds and salmon recipes into the episode. And see, this is why Gina and I get along so well, Lynda, because I'm going to invoke our season 1 tradition and answer the question that I know you just asked, which is what has me feeling fulfilled and inspired today. So thank you for asking that. My answer is, back to today's guest, Gina, but not just heaping more praise upon you, Gina, which is easy, but also I think what's really cool listening to you is like it has me feeling inspired, this idea of people just finding the groove in a certain job, in a certain profession where they could be their true self. And I just think that's so satisfying and inspiring. I was actually leading up to today's episode thinking of a would-be question just around how, as you rise the career ranks, how you continue to stay so genuine and humble and positive and bring the energy. But you reminded me today, spending an hour with you, that you don't have to really try or put effort into that. I don't think. I think you get to just be yourself, and just bringing your whole self and being yourself and putting yourself out there like is one with your job and everything you do for your organization, which is a lot. So yes, more compliments in there, but also I think it's one of those like it's what it's all about kind of things. So I find it inspiring. I know sometimes people could find it troubling if they haven't found that thing yet, but I'm really a firm believer like we all have one or more paths that will click and be our thing. You just got to keep looking sometimes. So look at Gina, it's out there, it could happen.
Thank you. I think one other thing, just to go off of that, is another like quick tip of advice is when you're in an interview process and you have those gut feelings that you're like, I'm not sure about these people. Your gut is always right. I know for me, when I was interviewing at e.l.f, I was like, I have a really good group around me of people that let me be myself. I need to find that in a next spot to make sure it's the right spot. I always say we spend way too much time at work to not love who we're working with. So make sure you find good people, even in this tough job market. Like, don't waste your time with shitty people. It's not worth
No doubt. Oh,
it.
Lynda, hope you're not frustrated with us. What about you, Lynda? Kicking it over to you for your thoughts.
Listen, as per usual, I will be taking a hard left turn here, and I'm fine with that. So, the thing that's got me hot under the collar this week is the lead-in statement of, so I had this really weird dream. And I think we need to stop saying that intro statement, because aren't all dreams weird?
True. That's
Like, aren't
true.
they all weird? So
Yeah.
couldn't we just skip it and go, so I had this dream, and we could all just get on board that it's going to get weird after you open with, so I had this dream, right? Because, yeah, of course it was weird. Your brain is like literally off gassing and playing you visuals of something you may or may not understand.
Wait, so are you saying you never have dreams about just doing like totally mundane everyday things?
You do?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
like
so.
I'm like falling in every single one of my dreams. Like, I don't know why I'm always like, oh my gosh, I'm awake. It's like, why is
I think sometimes I'm just like hanging out eating a sandwich, to be honest.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I don't
All
have.
right.
I wish
And
my
then I wake
dreams
up, I'm like, let me go make that. That sounded really good.
Well, no,
But to
I
somebody
might
that
have
might
Lynda dreams.
be weird,
Yeah.
right? So to somebody that might be weird. And
It's all
so
weird.
let's just normalize opening with, so I had this dream, instead of us being specific about a weird dream, because it's probably going to get weird.
Mm.
That's
Could we say I had this and then like pregnant pause? I had this dream. Would that work for you?
It's fine.
Okay,
It's
I think
fine.
that's how I
I'm
have
just
to
saying,
do it.
like, I just don't
Try
think
really
we
hard to
need to
hold
layer
myself
in the
back.
word weird.
Okay,
I just don't
fine.
think
That's
we do.
fair. That's
All right.
fair.
All
Meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with that.
so again, hard left turn.
Once again, we
All
figured it
right.
all out.
So let's go have a wonderful day, a wonderful all the things. And for all the people who are still with us and listening, like, subscribe, comment, feedback, all the things.
Let's go make a sandwich. And once again, thank you, Lynda, and massive, massive thank you to you, Gina. You've been such a wonderful guest, and it's a privilege to have you on the pod.
No, privilege to be in both of your orbits. I'm so lucky to have you both in my corner, and I'm forever your cheerleader on the sidelines. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks,
Bye,
Gina.
everybody.
Keep crushing it. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
And thanks again to Keen for sponsoring today's episode. If you're growing your business and thinking about building a global team, don't stop at finding an employer of record. Find a partner that helps you build the team too. Check out keentohire.com to learn more.